Hello and welcome to another episode of CRT Sound System. We are here with episode 96 and we're talking about Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal. Here with Reese as always. Reese, how are you?
I'm incredible. Thank you. How are you?
Yeah. Oh, fantastic! Looking forward to this one. This is my favorite Pokemon game. Not to reveal too much about it, but yeah, absolutely my favorite. It's my nostalgic favorite. It's my just favorite. And we've got Kay with us again. Kay, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. I'm looking through Professor Elm's window and I'm thinking about stealing a Mon.
Do it. Yes.
Which one have you got in mind?
I'm a Totodile loyalist and I
Totodile?
will never
Yeah.
back down.
Yeah, I'm usually a fire Pokemon. I always go with the fire Pokemon. But yeah, for this game, it's fucking Totodile. He's the best one.
Fuck
It's
yeah,
not
dude.
even. It's not even close. Like this, yeah, best one. Reese, do you have any particular thoughts on this one?
I'm looking at them right now, and I'm 10,000% Cyndaquil pilled.
I mean, yeah, that's disappointing. But
I mean,
I can't believe how much you just fucking sandbagged me right there.
I'm sorry, I can't go along.
Something I'm going to take to my grave. Anyways, this is literally why I didn't get into Pokemon for most of my life.
I mean, it's just with the allegations against Typhlosion. It's hard to justify.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, it's Pokemon. You gotta go with your gut on these things. I feel weird even saying to Kay to just tell people what Pokemon is because if you're listening to this podcast, of course you know what Pokemon is, but I feel like it's just a part of the show now where I get the guests to actually explain what the game is. So please tell people about Pokemon.
Where is Gold, Silver in the pantheon of the Pokemon debates and fights and divorce causing topics that is this game series?
Well, first of all, you're never going to believe this, that you capture pocket monsters, if you will, in an orb that contains their wonderful power, and then you make them fight. Children specifically make them fight for the entertainment of all of us and for money, which is maybe a little concerning. But I want to make one thing very clear. There are three kinds of people in this world, and one of them is correct. So one of the kinds of people is people who are just Gen 1 is the best one, all the other ones are bad. There's another kind of person who will dismiss that other kind and say, you played that when you were a kid and now you've been divorced, and that is why you think Gen 1 is the best. And actually, some random recent generation is the best for some inscrutable reason. But there is a third kind who knows that, in fact, Gens 1 and 2 are the best. And that is a far more legitimate opinion because, hold on, Gens 1 and 2 have a very distinct design direction that is completely different from 3 onward, and that indicates that you have made an actual critical choice and not just, I liked these because I played them as a kid. I also played Gen 3 as a kid, and it's not as good because it's something about Gen 1 and 2, and for me, 2 is my favorite because it's the most like this. It's kind of fucking miserable. There's just something somber about the whole thing, down to the music, the color palette, everything. And when you get to Gen 3, they start to get into this aggressive positivity that would go on through all of the games, even when kind of dark things do happen. But 2 is something fucking happened here, but I have to collect these creatures for unclear reasons, and it's so good.
It's like that Garth Ennis tweet is all the other Pokemon are hey, these kids they're catching animals and making them fight. and the second one is just like, these fucking kids, they don't deserve this, being made to catch animals and fight.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, friend of the pod, Garth Ennis. No, yeah, it's absolutely the case, and I think that's why, if we're talking about game soundtracks, I think that's where 2 really stands out. Obviously, the compositions get way more complicated and arguably better as the games go on, but I think this is peak. I think that in terms of setting the vibe, I've played all of them except for Violet and something, whatever that one was.
Scarlet Violet.
Scarlet and Violet. Yeah, I didn't play that one, but I played all the others, and I think this one is unrivaled for vibe setting via music.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you. Yeah, it is weird, like, because you get that whole thing, like the creepypasta stuff of like the ghosts and the ghost Pokemon and everything. Like there's that
Pikachu
aspect of it. But like, yeah, there's definitely like this weird melancholy to the game. Just some, like, even just like the whole thing of like the unknown. Like when you like walk into that weird cave and you're like just looking at these weird Pokemon that, yeah, they're all the same Pokemon, but they all look different, and like you're trying to just figure out what they mean, and they don't actually mean anything because they didn't put anything in the game to actually like to differentiate them or anything, and like trying to catch one of every version. I don't know if anybody else did that, but I'm sure that was a pretty common thing. I'm just like, yeah, that whole just sort of the whole mystery of Pokemon of the games was so like. It was so fascinating to me, and I was talking to Reese before we were recording about like I never really got into the sort of the whole internet aspect of Pokemon at the time. Like I played the games a lot, and I'd read stuff in magazines, but like I'd never go online and like get involved in discussions about like but like the actual mechanics of the games or anything like that. But you just like read these weird rumors if you go on like random websites about how like such and such was hidden if you like caught all the unknowns. As that was sort of a weird rumor that went around, or like even just like all the stuff about like missing No from the first game and everything like that.
Oh man, that was classic stuff. That was so good.
Yeah.
Before you could really easily look things up online, that was the golden age of kids just lying to each other.
Yeah. So many uncles at Nintendo at the time had so many things to say about these things. But yeah, it was just like, there was such a sort of a mystery about it, and like, even now knowing that like a lot of that was just known by the grognards who spent too much time on Pokemon forums. And I say that lovingly because a friend of the pod, Dave, was one of those grognards, and like he was the person when I first got to know him sort of really introduced me to like the whole notion of like competitive Pokemon and like getting into like training your Pokemon with EVs and IVs and stuff like that.
Oh hell yeah.
And like that never super appealed to me, but like just hearing him talk about it was always like super interesting, because I was like, oh, I just like playing like here's my fucking like as said Reese, I had a Skarmory because Skarmory was a fucking metal bird and that was sick as hell, or I had Mareep because he was an electric sheep and that was cool. Like, I never like picked my Pokemon because of their stats or whatever like that. So it was always like just learning about that, just like a completely different perspective on the game was quite fascinating, even though it did not appeal to me in the slightest.
Even as a low grade Pokemon hater, that was something I could respect. Like I kept Pokemon at arm's length because Pokemon was for babies and I was 15 years old actually. But I at the same time I was like, oh man, Snorlax, he's sleepy. I can get down with that. That's awesome.
He's so sleepy. Yeah. That's his main thing. And when you pay close attention to these pocket monsters, if you will, many of them have exactly one personality trait. For example, my good personal friend Primate, he's angry.
He's very angry.
That's right. Alakazami's very smart. Jinx, racist.
As I was telling Tom, my favorite one added in the most recent Pokemon game was Tinkaton, whose only personality trait is that it wants to kill the Pokemon Corviknight. It has
Hell yeah.
evolved a hammer specifically to throw and murder the bird in the sky, and I think that's great.
Nature is
That's
Would
beautiful.
that nature would give us all a hammer to smite our enemies.
So true. So fucking true.
Oh god. Yeah, so the music in the series, as you mentioned, they're like fucking bangers. The first couple of games, I think pretty much all of them have been done by Go Ichinose. I'm not sure if Junichi Masuda was on for them. Oh yeah, he's been like right up to Scarlet and Violet as well. Jesus. So yeah, these
wow.
two guys, Go Ichinose and Junichi Masuda, have been like the Pokemon guys since day one, pretty much. Back on like Red and Blue, and yeah, they're like Game Freak employees. Because I suppose these are known as Nintendo games, but Game Freak is the actual developer.
Mhm.
Game Freak have done some other games, but none of them are particularly good.
No, I mean, Pokemon games are barely good. The premise is carrying a often poorly designed game.
Yeah, for sure. And like, yeah, these games as well, just like absolutely held together by fucking sheer willpower at points, just in terms of like how they actually work. As mentioned, like the missing no stuff, or even just like the IVs and EVs, like all that stuff is just like so. It's very ramshackle.
Yeah.
And like famously with this game as well, like they put the map from the first game into this game, and that was all done by oh shit, what's his name? The Nintendo CEO, whose name I'm now forgetting.
John Nintendo?
John Nintendo, yeah, Satoru Iwata.
What I
That was
said.
sort of like one of the things before he was a CEO was he was a coder, and like apparently he just like he was able to compress the game down so much that they were able to fit all the map from the first game into it as well. So
That's
like
impressive.
it's
'Cause
yeah.
this was on Game Boy Color. How big were those? Was that like
Like
8
these
megabytes?
Yeah, these cartridges were, I don't know if they were 8 megabytes. They were small though.
Yeah, that
I
might be
think
Game Boy Advance that was 8 megs. I don't remember.
I think maybe the biggest Game Boy Advance game was 32 megs, and that
Ooh.
wouldn't have even been megabytes. That would have been megabits. So
Oh,
like
right.
yeah, so like I don't even know what the full size of a Game Boy Color cartridge is, but I can't imagine it was more than a couple of megabytes total.
The one dream of a medium-sized cat.
Yeah, exactly. But like these games are obviously not like the most complex like graphically or anything, because they're Game Boy games, and like even for late era Game Boy games, like they're small little sprites, even though like the actual battle sprites are generally quite well rendered and quite detailed. But like yeah, these are not sort of super technically complex games, but even at that they're very much just sort of ramshackle. And there's a charm to that as well. Obviously, like things shouldn't just be absolutely perfect machines at all times.
Oh
I think
yeah.
that's expecting that of video games is a bit much, but like it's always fun sort of going back to these and just seeing like even just with more grown up eyes and being able to see where the seams are basically.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah,
Also,
for sure.
just thinking about the fact the Kanto map was on it, I actually have a funny memory. This was a very early memory because I was fairly young when these came out.
Hmm.
Um, it was my first time experiencing what I guess you could call like a wistful nostalgia, and it was very funny because I fucking loved Pokemon. I played an ungodly amount of. I had Yellow version,
Hmm.
specifically. I played the shit out of Yellow. So and I didn't know, it was the first time I played Silver. I had Silver. I didn't know what was going on until I got to a certain point, and you go back to Kanto. Um, and I was overcome with this new feeling of like, I remember this, and then I remember also feeling like that's crazy that I'm having that feeling at this age. That can't be good. And it only
Yeah,
got worse.
you're 9 years old and you return with a V. Something's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. It's no, it's a hilarious vehicle for a wistful nostalgia because it is also a bit of a pale imitation. Like it's really fun, but obviously it's
Yeah,
shallower because it's like it's almost post game stuff.
yeah,
Um, so it just feels like the place you remember, but a little off, and
yeah,
that's really interesting too.
yeah.
So
That
is
is.
it just like you couldn't catch like the a lot of the Gen 1 Pokemon until you went back to Kanto, something like that? Or was it just
Um,
Um,
like here's the map, enjoy?
there's definitely a lot of Pokemon you could only get in
yeah,
Kanto, whatever. And um, just a lot of like the side stuff from the first game obviously wasn't in
Mhm.
it. You're just kind of doing a marathon through all the gyms.
yeah. Just sort of like
It
Yeah.
a boss rush, essentially, of just like going through all the gyms and then doing like the victory road, and then you'd face off against Red from the first game.
Yeah, you fight yourself from the
Yeah.
past. It's fucking this game had stuff going on, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's jump into the first block of tracks, anyway. So I've got some pretty big track list for this one because all the tracks are quite short.
Yeah.
I've got by just Pokemon Center, but which is by Junichi Masuda. Then New Bark Town, which is by Masuda and Go Ichinose. Elm Pokemon Lab by Masuda. Cycling Route 29. Route 30, Route 32, all by Masuda, and then Route 26 by Go Ichinose. Wonderful. Yeah, just like just really, really good like RPG music. Like
Really
they
good
do such
RPG
a
music. I think too, it sounds like very little else does on the Game Boy, which is like crazy. Um, I feel like that has sort of like there is a lot of good, a lot of soundtracks I like, but I feel like I can kind of recognize the bass parts in a lot of them. But I feel like they worked really hard to make this a unique experience through and through. And I just love the sound chip so much. Like two of my favorite games are Final Fantasy Legend and the Zelda for Game Boy.
yeah.
The Wind Waker, whichever one.
There was a few Game Boy
The
Zelda.
Link's Awakening is the Game Boy one.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the one where like the first areas, like the castle with like the kind of purple looking knights in it? You know the one?
No,
No,
that's the one where you get washed out to sea. You
Yeah.
wake up on the beach, and you have to trade like a whole bunch of stuff to get seashells. It's
Yeah.
insane, and instead of collecting Triforce pieces, you're collecting instruments, so you can have like a fucking banger Game Boy tune for like the final part of the game. It's fucking incredible. Highly
Oh,
recommend.
I don't know if I played that one. Interesting.
One of the best ones for sure.
Oh, is that the one they
Um,
remade for the Switch?
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure actually if is there a difference between the Game Boy and Game Boy Color sound chips?
I don't think there's a difference. I just think the Game Boy Color was a little bit kind of just had better hardware to play them out of. So
Yeah.
it sounded better, but I think it's the exact same chip.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, no, I was just curious because I was like, like again, it's hard to tell sometimes if it's just because of the fact that they had a bit more experience and this was fairly late in the system, or if it's because there was a difference between the Game Boy and the Game Boy Color. My experience of these games, or at least the first one for sure, was playing it on my Game Boy, my Super Game Boy. And then I never really listened to the music on this one very much because it was a game that I would play in school. I would basically just have it under my desk at study, rather than studying for my leaving certificate. I would be playing Pokemon.
Right, you are. You got to know
yeah.
this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So that was basically what I did. It's a wonder I got through school, but yeah. Yeah, so like there was very little of the music, but even with that, I do have some fairly distinct memories of playing this in the bathroom and listening to the music. And I think then later, yeah, it would be when again later once I got to know Dave, we would record stuff to his computer using an aux cable, and we would like plug in his Game Boy Advance and record stuff off it. And I do remember recording some Pokemon music off that. I don't recall if it was just the GBA versions, but I would imagine we would do both, and that was one of the early ways that we used to listen to video game music outside of actually playing the games. Before it was easy to just download MP3s of everything.
That fucking whips, dude.
Yeah.
Life finds a way.
That's it. Yeah. I mean, but yeah, we were talking about that first town theme as well, and how it's just got that sort of like that very good start of an adventure vibe that you really get in a lot of like first towns and RPGs. But there's a very sad undercurrent to it as well, of just like being, this being like you're leaving home, you're going on this journey, and you won't see your mom for 6 years while you go and fight animals against each other.
Yeah,
like
and I
there's
feel
just
like your mom is a bit more of a character in this one as well, so
Yeah.
that helps it hit a bit. I think
Yeah.
we see that specifically the music in towns is often especially melancholy, which is interesting.
Yeah. There's definitely just like like you when you leave this place, you're not coming back, and if you do come back, you're not coming back the same person, that kind of thing. Which is like, it's weirdly complex for a children's game on the Game Boy Advance, and maybe I'm just sort of putting that on it, but like it's there in the music,
You will have fought so many animals to the death by the time you come back. You'll have the eyes of an abattoir employee.
Yeah.
It feels like, obviously you two are the experts, but it feels like in Gen 2, it starts being less like, oh, the Pokemon are our friends and we're going on a fun tournament with them to live our life. In 2, it seems like it starts being more like, we're going to leave the real world behind and just live in a world of only Pokemon. And humans aren't going to matter except to kill with our Pokemon. I don't know. Confirm, deny?
I feel like the legendary dogs present like a weird they're these ancient things that suddenly extend this timeline and give the impression that like humans are a very recent thing, and this world is the Pokemon's world that we at some point arrived in. And there is this unsettling kind of undercurrent because of it that I always really liked, and it does make it feel like human civilization is just a little more fragile here.
Are the dogs in Gen 2, or is this the later reveal?
No, this is Gen 2.
Okay.
Yeah, they're the guys. I guess one of them is on Crystal. Suicune, the water one, is on the Crystal cartridge.
Yeah,
Okay.
I forget the names of the other two. Yeah, but that was sort
Entei
of
and Johnny Electric.
All right, that'll be in from now on. Yeah, I think they're even on the list later. So yeah, Raikou's Entei and Suicune. Yeah. I remember. That was again just one of those sort of like mysteries of it, of trying to like run around the world trying to find these guys, and I'm not sure if I ever managed to actually catch all of them, but as I mentioned as well to Reese, this was one of those games that my brother kept deleting the save game for on me. So like,
what the hell?
I restart, and like I did mention during the cycling music that I have trauma over the first couple of hours of this game, because I started this game so many times because like my brother would just take my cartridge when I wasn't there and like start playing a game and then like save the game with no Pokemon on it.
I'm glad I was an only child. What the fuck?
I would be so fucking mad. Yeah, but I mean that's what happens when you've younger brothers. But at the time I didn't give a shit. I was a mad gamer about it. But yeah, I mean I would just restart the game then and like start from scratch. But like those first few hours where you didn't have a bike and you just had to plod around everywhere. Oh my goodness, just what an absolute
guy
slog.
outside the first town teaching you how to catch a Pokemon 8 times.
Yeah, I've been through that so much. I do find these interesting. Like I mentioned, like the RPG aspect of them, and they are RPGs, but they're a very sort of simplified RPG in a lot of ways. like even just down to like the way you select your moves, like you get 4 attacks and that's it. And like obviously I'm not going to go into the whole sort of push and pull of the way Pokemon combat is organized, but like that was like these are the first sort of like proper RPGs I played. I've mentioned numerous times in this podcast that like you could not really get RPGs in Ireland, and the RPGs that you did get at the time were mostly like action RPGs. There was very few like full on RPGs, or in an episode that we've recorded but not released, like Mystic Quest, you got stuff like that, where it's like very much a simplified version of an RPG. So like for as simple as these games are as RPGs, and sort of looking back on them, they're quite rudimentary. Like they are definitely the first games that I played that were like quote unquote proper RPGs, where I was like actually having to think about stuff like party composition and stuff like that. And even outside of just like I would have the Pokemon that I thought were cool, but even just being like, okay, well, I do need to have like a Pokemon of this type and a Pokemon of this type and a Pokemon of this type, just to make sure that when I go into a gym, I'm like covered for different options. And like, even with the sort of more or less simplistic rock paper scissors elements of Pokemon, like that was sort of good training for getting really into like Final Fantasy when I went to college, and sort of discovering that whole thing. So like, yeah, it's they are sort of like, as I say, a baby's first RPG, but they are very much indebted to the older Final Fantasies and Dragon Quest as well.
Oh yeah.
Can I ask a question of the two Pokemon fans here? My understanding is this version is the generation where they introduced shinies and shiny hunting. Is that correct?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. Did that impact you positively or negatively, or just in a way you cannot fathom, or did that sort of thing not rear its head until later?
So for my part, I would never intentionally like hunt a shiny, because that is fucking psychotic behavior in my view. But just a few times organically through playing the game a lot as a kid, I would run into one sometimes, and it always felt fucking awesome. Especially because back then I didn't know about like EVs and IVs and whatever and all this competitive shit. So I had no concept of like, is this a good one? I was just like, I'm using this now for the whole run. This is my guy,
Yeah. I don't know if I ever organically came across a shiny Pokemon, certainly not in that game, but once I learned about them, then I did do like a little bit of it. I was just like hunting out and just seeing if I could find them, but like it's such a random thing, and I never like it never appealed to me. I don't particularly give a shit, to be honest. Like it's not it's the same when I'm like getting Magic the Gathering cards. I do not give a shit if the card is foil. Like I do not. I would just not go out of my way for it. If I came across it and it happened to be there, I'd be like, great, yeah, perfect, I'll take that. But like I'm not. It has zero appeal to me.
Yeah.
All right, so you two are too mentally well adjusted to be the target of my question.
I would say that's true. Yeah.
I'll move on to the audience as a whole.
Yeah, I'm sure once the episode comes out.
DM Reese, if you've ever lost a month of your life to not get a shiny. I just read about this stuff on like Blue Sky and stuff, and they're just like, I spent the last week and a half trying to get a shiny. I don't know, Hoot or whatever, and I didn't get anything, and that I have 70 more hours on this game, and I'm gonna take a shower now. And I'm fascinated by it.
I do think with the later games they've sort of put things in and made it like a little bit easier to do shiny hunting. Like I think the rates where you'll see one are a little bit higher, and I think there are like items you can use to increase the rates and stuff like that. And like the game actually tracks it for you, I believe. So like there is sort of, if you're of that particular mindset, there's definitely like they've definitely made it easier for you. But like in the original games, I don't think there's any way to know the difference other than when you see it and it has the little shiny noise appears, or like
and we call that enabling here in the States, Tom.
Yeah, that is true. But yeah, like it's I'm just trying to even remember like if I played this on the Game Boy Color or not, because like I think you could. These were the last ones because, like, yeah, Crystal you could only play on the Game Boy Color, but these ones could be played on the original Game Boy. They couldn't be played on the Game Boy Player or like the Super Game Boy, annoyingly, which, as I mentioned, was how I played Red and Blue. But like, I had this on the Game Boy Pocket. I'm pretty sure because I didn't actually own a Game Boy Color for quite a few years afterwards. So like I'm not even sure that if I had run up against a shiny Pokemon, if I would have even known it was shiny. Because like you don't get the different color palette. You get that noise or whatever that it like. I think they have like a different cry. But I'm not sure that you could actually tell the difference visually on the Game Boy.
It's medium dark gray instead of dark gray.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, so like for all I know, I ran into 5 million of them, and I just didn't know it.
Damn.
Yeah, no. And again, like because I wasn't online enough about the game, I didn't know about shinies. I didn't know about any of that kind of stuff really. So like, I would just catch my Pokemon in blissful ignorance.
And just so everybody knows, I'm not a hater. I think the next Pokemon you're gonna catch is a shiny one, so don't stop.
Yeah.
75% of Pokemon players stop searching for shinies before they get the shiny Lugia.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, because imagine like trying to fucking catch like shiny legendaries or shiny Pokemon that you could only find one of in the game. Like,
I will not
how many fucking resets you would have had to do to try and get that to actually work. Like, good God.
Yeah.
And like, as I understand it with the older games as well, you could do like some RNG manipulation if you were really into it. And I believe even like people would do like would like modify the hex code in the games as well to make it easier to catch stuff. But like, yeah, I don't know. I just used to hold down and B. That was the easiest way to catch things.
Yes, and that works.
That works every time.
It's real.
It's real.
If it doesn't catch it, you need to hold it down harder.
And sometimes it helps if you time it right as well. You really got to get the timing right on it. It's like, you know,
yeah,
it's quite precise.
Don't look at it too intently because it'll know.
Yeah,
and if you're afraid that it turns it right off.
Like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So we're going to go into some battle teams soon. Yeah, I guess like aside from like the party composition, the battle team or the battle stuff in this game is sort of like its most famous mechanical aspect of it. Obviously, you've got like the sort of the rock paper scissors of it, and like this game added, was it 4 new types?
2, steel and dark.
Is it just 2? Was it just steel and dark were added?
It was just steel and dark, but I believe, I might be wrong, but I believe in this game you could have double types.
Was this when they added double types? Wow, this early.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Goodness. Yeah. Because they did make some Pokemon that previously didn't have like certain types, like they added a steel type or
like Magnemite became steel electric.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, like the addition of the steel type was so cool because it was like it was like rock, but it also like it was weak to fire, and it just, you know, it just again like they added too many types later, and now it's too confusing, and I don't remember all the type matchups, but like just those additional the additional types in this just really made the difference. And like even like adding dark and making like ghost stuff a lot less powerful through it, and even like adding a few more things to counter psychic, which was an absolute fucking menace in the first game.
Yeah, it was
like,
a good balance move for sure.
Yeah. Just like, oh my God, like if you weren't around for psychic in Gen 1, like if a gym leader, like what was the fucking gym leader that had the Alakazam? I forget, but like Sabrina, yeah, like she had Alakazam, and she also had ghost types. So like, if you had a normal Pokemon or Pokemon normal moves, they wouldn't affect the thing. And like, Psychic, I think is super effective against normal. So like, just there was Psychic was just a menace. I hated fighting fucking Alakazams. Um, absolutely awful shit. So like adding in stuff where like you had a little bit of counterplay was really good. And like obviously it was still not super balanced, but it definitely sort of definitely made a difference. But I forget even what I was. Oh yeah, about just like the battle system. Yeah, just like again, like the whole four moves thing. Like it does on its face is kind of simple, and like in practice against like the computer, you're just going to pick whatever your most powerful four moves are and just spam those.
Yeah.
It does get a little bit more nuanced if you're actually playing like link battles against people, but as I said, I never really got into that with anybody. It was just not really my vibe. I tried it with later games, just and I could never get into it. But there's definitely like a lot more nuance to the battle system and the types of moves you use. Like you actually need to use stat affecting moves in battles against like real humans because that matters. You don't need to do that against like gym trainers. Like as soon as you get the chance to get rid of Lear, you were replacing that with literally any fucking move that you could.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And like maybe some of the later ones that like cause like a sharp drop in stats, you might use those on occasion, but or like stuff that like poisoned and stuff that caused status effects is generally quite good. But like anything that just caused a reduction in stats, you would just throw it as soon as possible against, and certainly in your PvE of it. But yeah, like it is an interesting sort of like thing of like choosing your moves for your Pokemon because it is part of your build, and then obviously whether you decide you're going to like go for stab bonuses to do your same type attack stuff, or whether you want to like throw in some moves that aren't your Pokemon's type, but just to shore up weaknesses. Like there's definitely like some nuances to it that I realize now are a lot more interesting than I did think at the time. Because at the time I would just, again, I would pick my strongest moves and spam them until I won or lost, and that would be it.
I think for the time as well, I think that's a pretty evolved thought for how this stuff could work, and it sounds like they hadn't perfected it exactly, but tinkering around got you some you could find some gold. So I think that's very interesting. I'm impressed by the evolution of Pokemon thought here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so we've got 5 battle teams here. There's a lot more in the game, but I'm just including some of these ones here. So they're all composed by Masuda, and they're all just called battle. So the first one is the Wild Pokemon battle. Second one is the Rival battle. Third one is the Johto Trainer battle, and then Team Rocket battle, and then the battle against the champion.
Is Lance the champion in Gen 2 as well?
No, I don't think so.
No?
I don't recall. That's actually a good question.
I might be tripping, but I feel like the Elite Four is the same.
Maybe.
I don't know if that's true.
Because the champion is red.
You go find him on top of a mountain after the Elite Four, right?
Yeah. But maybe it is the same Elite Four. Hold on. Will, Koga, Bruno, and Karen. Oh, then champion Lance. Is that
Okay.
in? Yeah, okay. Interesting.
Koga, because he was a gym leader of Fuchsia in Gen 1, so he's replaced someone. But Bruno is from Gen 1. So some of them are the same and some are different. I kind of like that.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting. Yeah. Okay, it just in my memory, it just you did the Elite Four and then you were like told you were trying to find Ash or Red or whatever. It was this weird time where they knew that the anime existed, but they didn't really want to acknowledge it too much for some reason. And then like later they just fully leaned into the whole anime of it. And I guess we probably should talk a bit about the anime. Like yeah, that was like obviously such a big part of the game, like the success of the whole series. Like did either of you watch the anime at the time or since?
Sure. I mean, I haven't seen it in a long, long time, but I think I stopped watching when Gen 3 happened because they like Misty and Brock like leave the show and then people come in and I'm like, I'm not learning new people. Be gone.
Yeah. I never watched it. I was aware of the anime a lot more than I was aware of the games at the time, and that's sort of where my initial dislike of it came from, is because my little sister watched the anime, and I'm just like,
okay.
This is no Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like an adult show.
This is for babies, yeah.
A funny thing starts to happen in the anime, I believe, with every new generation, where the female player character comes in as like Ash's friend and replaces the girl from the last season. So he's just got like a rotating cast of women. It's
and
really
then
weird.
it's just like some other random horny guy who's just like they're replacing them with basically the same characters. I do think like was it Tracy was the guy that replaced Brock, was maybe a little bit different, but even so it was just like Missy and Brock were the OGs, and I do not acknowledge any other characters.
I think Brock might have come back at some point, but that was after I'd stopped watching. Yeah, it's so hard to find good sexual harassers these days, you know.
Yeah, it's a very classic anime style of a pervert too, you know. Like it's in a way that's sort of hard to even like be like critical of it, because you're just like this is such a weirdly like tropey, and yeah, it's very weird.
Yeah.
Something I really love about the anime, at least my understanding of it, is that Ash didn't finally become world champion until like 3 years ago, which is so
yeah, I think it
me.
was a bit like when Sword and Shield came out or something. That was like the time he finally got to be champion.
Oh, did he finally win?
Yeah. Can you imagine if Lost spanned like 3 generations?
They're just on the island.
Yeah. No, I think in fact it was maybe Sun and Moon. I think it was the Alolan Cup that he actually won finally.
Okay, that's wild. Yeah, it felt like a really daring decision when he first got to the league in like the first era. And then he just gets his ass beat. He does okay, but like he doesn't even make it to the finals, I don't think. That's funny. That's very funny.
Yeah. It is, yeah. It is kind of a weird, but I guess like you got to keep the show going somehow, like.
Something to do, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like I guess it's sort of weird to think about time as well, because like that was what 15 years or something after the show like initially started, like and he's still supposed to be a 10-year-old. Like the passage of time in a show like that is weird to think about.
Makes sense. Oh, we found another 140 Pokemon, Ash. We got to check this shit out.
Yeah. But yeah, no, like I remember watching it at the time, but like not like being super into it, but just yeah, it was definitely I was definitely one of those people who'd be like, I'm going to name my character Ash, and that'll be it.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, I gotta be accurate to the show. But yeah, it was definitely like a big part of the sort of the whole popularity of the show. Like, and it feels weird, sort of even trying to recount it because like everybody fucking knows about Pokemon and just its impact culturally is sort of hard to is hard to talk about because like it's such a well known thing. Somebody actually was I don't know, was it in the Discord or somewhere else, but just somebody was talking about like the weird satanic panic over Pokemon at the time as well. And just like how everything was. I mean, satanic panic stuff was always weird, but like it was extra weird with the one with Pokemon for some reason because there was one guy on a website that I would just like go to read every day, just because he would just post these absolutely fucking unhinged screeds about Pokemon every day, to the point where now thinking back is like I think this might have been a parody website.
Yeah.
Where I'm just like he would go on about how like the TM move stood for transcendental meditation, and like how that was part of communing with demons and stuff like that. And,
True,
like,
true.
Yeah, and like HM stood for something else. I forget exactly what, but they were like, but it was this very sort of like, you know when like the conspiracy theories people get really into like numerology,
Yeah.
like that kind of vibe from it. So like again, hard to know whether it was a parody or not. It could have just been like a weird time cube type guy, but just I just remember reading this one guy's blog every day that he would post it because it was just one of those early internet fascinating things to me of like, oh my god, these kind of weirdos exist.
Well, the root of it is, of course, that one episode that gave a bunch of kids epileptic seizures because of the flashing lights.
Oh yeah.
So it was this sort of thing where it's like I feel like it wasn't even fully a satanic panic thing. There was just like this fear they didn't know how to articulate because the pocket monsters had reached from Japan through the TV and touched and hurt their children. And
Yeah.
so just like it was just like it was something, sure the devil was involved, but there was something more there that they couldn't explain.
Yeah.
And I think that was very real. Like I remember my mom being scared about Pokemon and just like not just being like it gave kids seizures. Like, we shouldn't be involved with that. We're an anti-seizure household.
Woke.
Yeah. So I think that just created sort of like an insane mystique from that reaction where people were just like, if Pokemon could be anything and everything because it was sort of culturally had that moment surrounding it.
Yeah, it had
It's
that
like
sort of
really
lightning rod
universal
effect to
moment,
it.
too.
Yeah.
I wonder how many Pokemon creepypastas exist only because of people growing up hearing like, there's like a banned episode of Pokemon that gives you a seizure.
Yeah.
It's like, that doesn't
well,
sound
yeah.
true. What?
100%. Yeah, that was. Yeah, I think that was definitely a thing, and even like there were South Park episodes about it. Like it was
Oh,
that
yeah,
sort
yeah.
of it was that culturally sort of prevalent and relevant. Like even like I think there was like Simpsons jokes about it. Yeah, because that was it seizure robots? Is that what they had on the Simpsons?
Yeah,
yeah.
Brought to you by the Mars Company or something insane like that. But I don't think that episode even aired outside of Japan as well. Like it wasn't like it maybe affected one child and then like everyone, like obviously naturally you don't want that to happen more than once. You don't want that to happen once, but like it was one of those things where like it happened in Japan and like it affected maybe a couple of people and then it just got so completely blown out of proportion. Even though they probably could have just edited the episode to be fine, I just don't think they even showed it outside of Japan.
No. Why take that risk?
I mean,
Yes.
Especially back then, dubbing took ages, so it would have aired in Japan way before it would have aired anywhere else.
Exactly, yeah. And I suppose that's sort of a weird part of the timeline with this as well, is like just the games coming out that much later in the West. I think there wasn't that same sort of rollout in Japan that we got here, where like because of the delays and everything sort of hit here at once. And it was sort of like it was coming over as like, this is the new craze from Japan, and it was just like we got like the full blast hit of Pokemon all at once. Whereas I think in Japan, like you had like, I think like the games came out first, and then you had like the manga and the show came out like a little bit later. Whereas here, because everything just sort of like was pushed through the door to us all at one time, I think people whose inclination is to get mad about Labubus or whatever, it were like, holy shit, I've got to get so mad about this right away.
Oh yeah, because it took over in the West when it landed.
Yeah.
It was fucking everywhere in a way that is I would say more significant than now. Like it's it's always been popular, but it was crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like... Sorry, go on.
No, go ahead, yeah.
I just wanted to mention that the Pokemon that gave children seizures was Porygon.
It was, which is a man-made Pokemon, and therefore this is a lesson about hubris and defying God's design.
10,000%. So it's not the Pokemon don't want to kill us, it's we made a Pokemon to kill ourselves.
Yeah. I mean, the only other truly evil Pokemon is Mewtwo, and that is also a man-made Pokemon, so...
Yeah, there was a strong theme of don't make new life.
Don't fuck with nature.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely that undercurrent throughout the whole series for sure. But yeah, to go back to the battle music. The battle music in this series is so good throughout. But like again, I do think this has some of the best ones, and like I love that. So, however they do it, they still they keep the same sort of pacing and vibe to them throughout, and they like, especially the old ones, where like they have that little opening sound that they all go through of like the battle is about to start, and it's like it's such an RPG thing again. Just to go back to sort of the RPG-ness of this series, just like just that sort of like the battle starts, you get this opening sound, and then it just kicks into gear, and you're like, "Fuck yeah, let's go!"
Yeah. The hidden loading screen as you kind of pan over everything for a second before all the menus come up and stuff.
Yeah, and you get that just descending noise. Yeah, it's great. We love to hear it. And then like the champion theme, then as I mentioned during the break, but just like the way that incorporates the intro, or not the intro, but the opening movie, but then sort of kicks into a different song once it actually gets going, is really, really cool.
Yeah, fuck.
I love how evil the champion song sounds. Like it sounds like you're fighting Satan himself.
It is weird because it's a final boss, it's an RPG final boss, so like you've got but like he kind of wants you to win as well. Like that's such a weird like aspect of the whole trainer battle thing, and the gym leaders in particular is like they don't really want you to lose. They just want, like they're there for you to beat them, and like it's like, yeah, and it's so like you get
the
this
only way
that
you'll be good enough is to defeat me. And that friction on your character will create the Pokemon trainer that was promised.
Exactly, yeah. It's such a weird like vibe, yeah. And then like the music doesn't quite match that tone, I don't think, but at the same time it just slaps so hard. So you're like, all right, well, I'm along for the ride, so.
Yeah, they're honing you into a weapon to climb Mount Silver and kill Red and his Pikachu once and for all. They've menaced us for years.
Oh god. All right, yeah. So I guess the next block of tracks is going to be like some dungeons and some side bits and stuff. Like the dungeons in this game always sort of annoyed the shit out of me, and still to this day do. Mostly because the encounter rates in these games are so high. And like, yeah, the dungeons could be a slog. But one of the best things that this series ever did, and it was there right from the start, was just giving you the option to just sidestep battles if you were willing to like invest some money into it. You could always just get some items to avoid battles, and like it was a slight nuisance, but like it really just made sort of exploring so much better. Because it was one of those things that once I started playing later RPGs or even earlier RPGs that I played later than this, excuse me, were like, I hate random battles. I really wish I could turn them off. And like having those little concessions, even in such an in the early games, was so good. Just being able to go and buy a repel, and maybe in the early start of the game you did want to sort of have battles, but like towards the later start of the game, unless you were specifically searching for a particular Pokemon, you were getting all your XP from trainer battles anyway. Like it's not worth doing a lot of wild Pokemon battles for the most part. So you're even if you are running into Pokemon, you're usually running from them unless you want to catch them.
In later Pokemon games, haven't they started having like the Pokemon, you can actually see them in the overworld and you can kind of avoid them if you want to? That's so much better. They
do sort of like a mix of them. I think I haven't played Scarlet and Violet, but I think for Sword and Shield, like if you were in long grass, you could get into a random battle. But in general, if you could just see the Pokemon in the world and you could choose to engage with them or not, and that was really fun for just like catching Pokemon. If you're running around, you're like, okay, I need to find this particular Pokemon for my Pokedex. Like that was really fun. But there were some Pokemon I think you could only catch by running around in long grass and stuff like that. But those are relatively few and far between. But like the dungeons in these games are kind of cool because they're sort of like there's sort of two major types. There's like a cave that's dark, and then like a building. Like those are the two types of, like, it's always just like you go to like the Team Rocket building or whatever, and then it's just like if you're in a building for whatever reason, those are the ones where you're just fighting a bunch of trainers, and you might just end up with this gauntlet of trainers. But you generally not have quite so many random battles. And then if you were in like a cave, you'd have a couple of trainers, but it would mostly just be random battles you'd have to deal with. And that just sort of seemed to be the two types of dungeons. They've sort of just done away with dungeons in the recent games as well, from what I can tell. It's just like everything's on the overworld now, and everything is just sort of like your gym. You just go to your gyms, and like the actual sort of the moving between places is more or less streamlined, and I do like that a little bit better. But if you're a real sort of sicko for the old style dungeons, I can see that being something that you miss.
Yeah, I want to be in a cave. I want to find a Machop down there.
Yeah. We're a pro dungeon podcast. Like, I want to see something called the Stormvale Mall, and no, I'm gonna fight a fucked up dog in there.
That's right.
Yeah, that's fair as well. Like, yeah, you've got, and I mean, Reese is a particular type of sicko as well who loves playing fucking like old first person dungeon crawlers anyway.
It's
so I
true.
can understand why that would be something she'd like. But
yeah,
like
100%. That's one thing was just like, of the many things I didn't like about Pokemon, random battles wasn't one of them.
Yeah,
I love being hit with a big mallet in video game form. So.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So let me pull up my list here. So I've got 4 tracks from Masuda and then 2 from Ichinose. We've got Dark Cave, Sprout Tower, Union Cave, and Tin Tower. Then we have Game Corner and National Park, which are more sort of like mini game things that you can do.
Such a good theme for a place that you don't actually spend that much time if you don't
Yeah.
the bug catching contest.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. Yeah,
That
kind
was
of just like
beautiful.
just really good place music. Like just yeah, even just like the music in the game center is just it's so energetic. You really just want to do some child gambling to get a Dratini or a Thunderbolt or whatever you need to get.
I gotta play the slots.
Yeah.
Big fan of Dave and Buster's, but you get a red panda if you win.
Yeah, the real life panda.
It's great.
Imagine if you could get animals at casinos.
Yeah.
That's the future, folks.
Like Chuck E. Cheese, yeah, fucking you
Yeah,
can get a
here's-
rat.
Here's a Gila monster, just yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I was just reading there as well because I was reading the one about Union Cave and I was just like, oh, what did you get there? And it was just finding you get the Lapras there. But that reminded me of like this being like one of the, I mean the first game obviously, but like an early game to do like clock and time stuff for the series. And like it had a built-in clock in the battery, and it kept track of things. And like you, depending on the time of day, you would have you could like find different monsters, find different Pokemon, and at different rates and everything like that. And it was like tied to the real-time clock. So I do remember there'd be times where I would like wake up in the middle of the night to try and find Pokemon, or it would just happen to be awake in the middle of the night. We were like, oh, it's 3 a.m. It's time for me to try and catch this particular Pokemon in this place. Because I say the days it does here as well that like you could find the Lapras only on Fridays, and I don't recall that it was just that it kept track of the days for that. Maybe that was an addition for the 3DS remakes or the DS remakes. But like certainly this just having the option to do things at night and at daytime was very cool. And I do like even just like it would darken the palettes for towns at nighttime and stuff like that. It was it was a cool little feature that like it didn't add the most amount of depth to the game, but it just really gave a sense of just like, you know, this world changes depending on factors, and that's cool. Like that's for something that's so sort of rudimentary in a lot of ways. That is quite cool.
Oh yeah, lots of Pokemon would only appear at night, like a lot of dark Pokemon and ghosts and stuff. So you get different stuff in the grass and in all the areas. It was really cool. I think I played I believe it was 3DS, the remake. And you could just go into your system and change the day and time.
Yeah.
It made it a bit easier. But yeah, back
Yeah.
in the day, I was discouraged from playing my Game Boy late at night when I was very young. So what I would do is I would wake up in the middle of the night and I would sneak and climb up to the high cupboard that I knew it was hidden in. And it was the perfect crime until one day I fell asleep while playing and was discovered with it in the morning. But until then, I was undefeated.
That is, yeah. I think I've been in a similar situation too, where just like my mother would take away the Super Nintendo controllers. She didn't bother disconnecting the system. She would just take away the controllers. And I found where she hid them, but then yeah, I got made one night trying to find them. So yeah, it was yeah. That's the struggles of gaming in the old days.
Yeah, moms need to settle down about gaming.
Yeah.
Good for you. Definitely doesn't make you stupid or racist. It's very good. Everyone should do it.
I'm a big fan of you having to crawl back and put either the Game Boy or the controllers back afterwards. That requires like this calculus of being like, okay, I can reliably play for 2 hours, and I have to go back to sleep.
Yeah.
That's a real 7-year-old struggle right there.
Yeah.
Dude, I've never walked so quietly in my life.
Oh God.
I did that for HBO, but that's not as cool.
That's funny. The other thing I was reading about is how this connected to the Game Boy printer. Um,
Oh.
and yeah, I remember we never had a Game Boy printer, but we did have the Game Boy camera. I think I still have the
Oh shit! I
Game Boy
never had
camera
that.
somewhere. And yeah, it was just it looked like shit, but like the Game Boy printer was like such a cool, like it was such a very Nintendo thing at the time of just like having this stupid accessory, and they tried to shove it into as many different things as possible.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like you could print out Pokédex entries, and like you could print out your Pokemon box. So like if you had Pokemon in a box, you could print out a little sheet with all the Pokemon in it. So then you could like remember which box you had all your Pokemon in, and like that's fun. That's just like
Yeah, that's a good
like
time.
for a kid, like that's the coolest thing ever. Because like I would keep a notebook of shit like that. With like stuff that I'd write down that I'd seen in magazines or on the internet. I'd be like, "Oh, that's a good tip to remember for The Legend of Zelda" or whatever. Like, so
Getting my
I
game
had
tip.
yeah, I had like my little game tip notebook that I had. So like I can absolutely, if I had a Game Boy printer, I would absolutely be the kind of kid who'd be printing out my Pokemon boxes, and like keeping them collated in a book somewhere, or like having a little binder for them or something.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, it's sick. It's just it's one of those things that like it is a very Nintendo-y kind of silly thing to do, and like it doesn't really there's no real benefit to it, but it's like if you're that particular kind of person, there's a lot of fun to that in it.
Yeah, man. I remember I would never I was never in a position to be spending money on like magazines and shit, but I remember when my mom would be shopping or something, I would try to go find like the video game adjacent magazines and have a little fucking look through, see what was going on. And I
Yeah,
remember the day I found one. This was like when Gen 2 came to the West, at least. And I found one that said Pokemon on it. And I'll never forget, it had an Azumarill on it. And I was like, what the fuck is this thing?
oh yeah.
I'm sorry, Skittles is making noise in the background. She's had it with my gaming, but it blew my mind because just the idea that there would be more Pokemon had never even occurred to me at that point. I was
Yeah.
like, what, there's a new guy? What the fuck do you mean? It shattered my whole worldview.
Was that when that was still being called Pika Blue because they just thought it was like a different evolution of Pikachu?
Yeah, totally.
Before people knew about Pichu. I do remember that being in like magazines and like yeah, I remember seeing like the rumors about the new Pokemon and stuff like that was yeah. And
is
just
wonderful.
the days before the internet were wild in many ways. Even
Speaking of
though
those game magazines, connecting to something you said
Mm.
previously several breaks ago, part of the reason like a lot of those ill rumors would get
yeah.
started is just because like malicious game editors talk about how evil April 1st used to be. They would just be like they would they would print like doctored pictures of like Ryu in Pokemon or whatever, and
Yeah.
just be like, the way you get it is you spend 45 hours doing this one thing we made up and laughed at in the office.
These people are monsters.
Yeah.
They really are.
Like that was the whole thing with Shenlong as well in Street Fighter. They just like it was just a fully
Oh,
made up
God.
thing by magazines. Yeah, and then yeah. But even at that, like a lot of the stuff you saw in magazines was often just like reprinted from an internet rumor somebody saw, as well. So like yeah, just we were getting at best third-hand information from trust me, bro. Like it was real rough at the time.
It was interesting listening to the national park music because it kind of there's a video about some slice of life game where he talked about how there's so many games that sort of like invent a nostalgia for a time and place that never existed, that you never experienced, but they
Hmm.
get all the tabs of nostalgia correct, so you still feel it. And I
Yeah.
felt that with National Park. I've never been involved with a bug catching contest. I have not played this Pokemon game, but I was just like, I saw it was named National Park, and just like using my imagination, I decided that as a child I played it and was there, and I missed it. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was so beautiful.
That's sick.
It's just to say that like these tracks I'm hearing create like a very compelling and engaging sense of place, and it's something that I can like really, even if I didn't play it, I can feel in conjunction with your myriad lovely stories. And I don't know, it's just a credit to the soundtrack.
Yeah, for sure.
Totally. Yeah.
Right. I think we'll jump into the next block of tracks because I'm looking at the time now. We've been prattling on about Pokemon for fucking ages.
I know.
So,
We gotta start knocking these things out. It's gonna get late.
Yeah. I've got a bunch of tracks. I've got 8 here now. So 4 from Go Ichinose is Violet City, Azalea Town, Goldenrod City, and Ecruteak City. Then from Masuda, we've got Burned Tower, Olivine Lighthouse, Team Rocket HQ. And then from Go Ichinose, we have the Radio Tower Occupied. Excellent. Yeah, we talked a bit during the break there, but yeah, the town themes in this are like really, yeah, they're just really exceptional.
They're breathtaking. Like it's I I have so many memories of showing up in a town for the first time and just like stopping and just listening to the music for a bit. They're so good.
Yeah. And again, just like really good scene setting and just sort of just giving you a vibe of a place very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to rush through this last block a bit, but I guess like the last block of tracks we're going to go into is all going to be about Pokemon Crystal. So they don't really do it anymore now that like DLC exists, but like in the originals, like your first game you had Pokemon Yellow, which is sort of just like an upgraded version that had some changes made, and for this one they did one called Crystal, and that one was Game Boy Color only. You couldn't play this one on the original Game Boy, annoyingly, which meant that I never actually played Crystal. Did you play Crystal at all, Kay?
I did. Yeah.
Okay. So what was your experience with Crystal? Like, did you go from one to the other, or did you like play them all? Like, how did you sort of experience that?
So I initially had Silver, and then when Crystal came out, I got it. And then that was my experience in the next gen as well. I got like Sapphire and then did Emerald. And the third one is always just kind of the definitive version. Like it's always the best one with the most stuff in it. So it is a bit like kind of tricked me into buying multiple games, but it's fun.
So is it kind of like the Evil Dead 2 of Pokemon Gold Silver, where it's just like basically you're playing through the same plot again, but it's just like more robust Pokedex? Or I'm so fucking confused by the concept of Yellow and Crystal.
Yeah, it's fully the exact same game again, but as if there was like one or two DLCs bundled with it now.
Yeah, and like,
maybe a few different Pokemon or something like that.
Yeah, some balance changes, and like a couple of things would change, but generally they would be the same game, just sort of improved, remastered a bit. I think the biggest difference, they didn't do it for Crystal as I recall, but for Yellow, like the big thing was that like you could have a Pikachu follow you around.
Yeah, that was like, sweet.
So you just had like a little Pikachu sprite that would follow you around for the game, and like that was the big sort of difference with Yellow versus Crystal, or versus Red and Blue. But like Red and Blue as well were just sort of fully held together by like they were barely functioning games. So like the Yellow like had a lot of like fixes to bugs and it's just stuff that didn't work properly. Like was there stats in the first game that just did not do anything?
That's a classic.
I seem to recall that was the thing. Like, yeah, there was just like a stat that was just coded in and didn't do anything. That might have been in the second game. I don't recall exactly, but like, it was just
special defense or something. Like, didn't work.
Yeah,
or something like that.
Yeah, it was something weird like that. But like, yeah, that stuff like that was fixed for Yellow, and obviously then it would be fixed for later games as well. But like, yeah, so they were just mostly it was just a way to get kids to buy yet another copy of the game. It's just like it was just but like they're generally, as you said, like the definitive editions, but they're more or less gone now with the existence of DLC. So like you'll generally now they'll sell you 2 games and then sell you DLC for both of them as well. It's slightly less predatory, I suppose. And like it just this did really just start off such a massive trend of doing this in other game series as well. Like you got like Mega Man was doing it, and like everybody was doing it. Two games. Like you even had 2 Zelda games that were like there was Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons that were just like go buy 2 games off us, you dickheads. So but like it was a good old game. Like there was a good way to sort of to improve games in an era without where you couldn't just release a patch. So like rather than just like re-releasing the game with like maybe some bug fixes or whatever, like they actually going in and being like, okay, we're going to make some changes and like redo the plot and redo the balancing a little bit as well. Like there's some merit to that, even though, as I say, I do think it was mostly there to just rip off kids. Or at least rip off kids' parents, which which I'm much more sympathetic to now as a parent than I was when I was and I was like, no, mom, you do have to buy me Pokemon Red and Pokemon Blue, and then Pokemon Yellow when that comes out. So yeah, the music again was done by Junichi Masuda, and they have Morikazu Aoki on the soundtrack as well. He's not quite as much of a lifer for Pokemon as I can see here. Seems to have just done
lately.
Yeah, well, not even that. Like he'd sort of worked up until Omega Ruby and Omega Sapphire on the 3DS, and
that's a pretty long time.
Yeah, well, I mean, like 10 years ish by the looks of it.
Yeah.
So it's like, maybe a bit more than 10 years. But yeah, like that's, but like the other guys are there, still there working for Game Freak. This guy seemed to have maybe gotten out. So yeah, I did looks like did some anime stuff as well for the anime shows. Okay, no, there is some music here on the on Sword and Shield as well.
Oh,
and one of the Legends games. Okay, yeah, no, so he's come back for more recent ones as well, by the looks of it, or maybe they just reuse tracks. It's always weird with composer credits whether it was just a reused track or not. So that could just be that too. But yeah, so I think we'll just jump into this last block of tracks anyway, and we'll try and finish this up because we've been nearly going for 2.5 hours at this point. So yeah, we've got from Junichi Masuda, we've got Dragon's Den. From Morikazu Aoki, we've got Eusine, Clair, and Battle Tower. And then from Masuda, we have the Raikou, Entei, and Suicune battle.
cool. That was like a fucking Rygar track.
Hell yeah. Yeah, no, that track bangs. It's kind of weird because in the game you often do not hear it for very long because
They run away.
those
the
fuckers
pricks.
ran away.
God, yeah.
Like you might get a turn or two out of them, and like in fairness, like it was interesting that like the game did keep track of like health levels and status, I believe.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they did the status, but they definitely kept track of health levels. So like it was just such a nuisance trying to like follow them around the world, and like they would move constantly. Like you had a way to track them. I don't know if there was like a special item you could get, but it would show them on the map. Maybe it was just in your Pokedex, so it would show you where they currently were. But they would move around, so you sort of have to like quickly get there, and then you get there, and sometimes they'd just be gone to a different part of the map, and it was an absolute fucking nuisance tracking them. And then once you got there, you had to like run into them in a random battle, which could sometimes take one or two battles, could sometimes take longer. And then they would run away after a turn or two. And it was an absolute nightmare, even just trying to track them down, let alone catch them. I think in the end, I maybe caught one of them with a Master Ball and then just never bothered catching any of the others.
Yeah, I did the same thing.
Yeah, because at the time I didn't know you could just clone Master Balls. I think there was a trick to do that at the time in this game. But yeah, no, it was just it was a kind of a cool little design space to sort of have these creatures that had sort of like persistent health and stuff like that. That's kind of interesting, but in practice, it was not very fun.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the music for Crystal, all generally very good, but I didn't really experience it firsthand. So a lot of it was actually fairly new to me when I was putting together tracks for this. But it did feel weird to not include at least some music from Crystal.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think with that we'll finish up. Kay, you've got a new podcast out, and we've shouted it out on the show before, but I feel like now is probably the best time for you to tell the good folks about it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. What was that?
I said yes.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I do have a podcast. It's called Take Back History. It's a podcast. I'll give you $20 if you can guess what it's about. Actually, so every episode I have a different historian on, and it's just we have a conversation about what they're working on, and we're trying to get a bit more in depth into the process and kind of what questions that they're confronted with or challenges, rather than just telling a straightforward story, and kind of put you in the shoes of someone trying to grapple with that history. Check it out right now, or I'll be mad.
Yeah,
Links.
it's very interesting. I'm very entranced, Kay, with not only your rejection of sort of great man theory, which I think is very popularly going the way of the dodo, but sort of like, you've spoken ill of sort of like more I like fictionalized version of history is like, oh, this is what the day in the life of Mesopotamian would be like, something like that. Sort of like you take a much more interesting, broad, and political take on this history that is frankly like much more engaging and sort of like relevant to today than just being like, oh, isn't it crazy that they didn't have cell phones, or which seems to be like half of the stuff I see on YouTube channels.
Yeah. Well, I'm really glad that comes off, because that's definitely what I'm shooting for. They didn't have cell phones though.
Wholly unique, incredible. Check it out, or else I will show up to your home.
All right, excellent. Reese, have you got anything you would like to plug?
No.
Nope. Cool. Very good. As for ourselves, you can find us on Patreon if you'd like, and you can come and hang out in the Discord. Come tell me what episodes we should do. Just absolutely just come in and hang out and just chill with us. This episode is going to be going out a bit late because due to some executive dysfunction and fuck ups on my part, I messed up some scheduling. So now I have to redo things. So thank you to Kay for joining us on short notice to record this.
Of course.
So, Absolutely, yeah. It was a great episode. It actually ended up being a lot more stuff about Pokemon than I ended up thinking initially.
Your mistake.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure, Kay. Thank you for coming on.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
If it wasn't getting so late, I would still be yapping about Pokemon. So
yeah, it's running up to 1:30 in the morning here for myself and Case. So yeah, definitely time for us to get ready for bed. Thanks for listening, everyone. Thank you for joining me, Kay and Reese. And we're going to go out with the ending theme. And good night.